I want to thank you for all Arab news and all Israel news. It's quite a voice that we haven't had. And I was just hearing that you went from 6,000 views a year on social media to now over 6 million. So how is that growth? What is happening? And how is your voice being heard? And how is the Lord using that?
Thank you. Well, in that particular case, you crossed two wires, but they're both good wires. And so, so two things. The Joshua Fund, builds out in areas of we euphemistically call special projects. That's pastor encouragement, pastor training, evangelism, discipleship, classic ministry to strengthen the local national church. That's a big part of what we do. Then there's the neighbors doing the same thing, but in the Arab world. There's humanitarian relief. There's operations, and there's education and communications. It's only in the last few years that we've really begun to build out and finance that education and communications thing, because even over the course of 15 years, building everything else out was super hard. We're operating, look, if it was easy to reach Israel with the gospel of Jesus Christ, it would have been done by now, right? It's 2,000 years. So it's challenging, and the Muslim world is challenging too. But we're really glad to have a new education and communications director that came on several years ago. He's here, Chris Free. Where's Chris? I want to give a shout out to Chris. He's in the mask. He is really, he's come from CBN. He understands both video and digital ministry. And he has really helped the Joshua Fund take a lot of the archive material of our conferences and sermons I've given and all kinds of stuff and say, how do we cut that up in small pieces that are digestible and begin to drive that out into YouTube and then draw people to the larger versions? And we are seeing just soaring interest. He's basically taken the Dead Sea Scrolls and, dusted them off, and we're seeing a response. We never even tried it. We never even thought about it. And that's when you have good people on your team, they think differently. When they're gifted in different ways than we are, good things happen by God's grace. So that's that. Now, we realized that there was still another component that the Joshua Fund wasn't doing, and that is the tremendous media bias against Israel, against Muslims, against peace, against followers of Jesus in the region. And it was infuriating. And so you're either going to, burst a blood vessel, or you got to go do something about it. And so I set up a parallel nonprofit called Near East Media, and we set up these two websites: All Israel News, All Arab News. If you're not one of our free email subscribers, I would encourage you to do that, because when you try to educate people about what's going on in the region, a book is really helpful because it gives you big picture. And it allows me to take you into, in this case, the palaces and the Oval Office and let you see what's going on, and you see the dynamic, and I can paint portraits of the very leaders that are making the decisions that affect our lives and the lives of our friends and allies on the ground and our enemies. But the story is fast moving, so a book can frame it, but but then there's day-to-day events, and people are curious, well, yeah, but what about this today? That's not in your book. Things are moving. So what's happening? Why does it matter? How do we pray about it? That's why we felt this is needed. And I can't tell you something, as much as it's been exciting to set up the Joshua Fund, it's been super exciting also to set up this. Now, the Joshua Fund is an investor in Near East Media, these two websites, because we realize it's an educational component of helping people understand what's happening today. We also have big picture pieces, but we feel like you can't just do one or the other. By the way, the book, traditionally Joshua Fund I've not promoted my books through the Joshua Fund because they're a commercial venture. So ethically we don't want to cross those wires. But Lynn and I decided that we were going to gift the copyright for this book, because of its uniqueness and the timing, to the new nonprofit, Near East Media. And since we're partners anyway, we thought that allows us to drive this to the very audience that cares the most, right? The audience of the news sites, but also the Joshua Fund community. You all have been faithfully praying for us, encouraging us, funding us, and we've never had a dinner like this ever. We've never had a weekend like this. we thought, well, maybe it's time. After 15 years, maybe we should pull the curtain up a little bit and invite you all in to learn a little bit more, hopefully a lot more, about what we do. We weren't trying to hide anything. Well, we were, okay. We were trying to, it's very sensitive what we do. So you can't just, Hezekiah learned the hard way. You can't just let people come in and, you're not the enemies, you're the allies, but you can inadvertently walk people in and say, yeah, here's my armory, here's the treasury. Yeah, that didn't go so well for poor Hezekiah. So that's why we're working together, side by side and in partnership. And I thank you for asking. I'm glad it's been encouraging. And just one other thing, why all Israel news, but why in all Arab news? Because some of our Arab Christian friends, my contacts and sources in the Arab and Muslim world, most of them are just not ready to be interviewed, quoted, profiled on an Israeli website. So we've got both, they're interlinked, and we've had some of the most influential Arab Muslims in the world not only be quoted and interviewed, but they're on our advisory board.